This story starts with a man named John Wick who comes out of his car bleeding. He sits on a wall and takes out his phone and plays a video on his phone. In this video, his wife Helen is not in this world. John gets emotional after watching the video, and this story goes into flashback with it. One morning, John wakes up with a sad heart because today is his wife's funeral. His wife was suffering from a dangerous disease which took her life. John still remembers the day when he met Helen for the first time. Every moment spent with her was the happiest moment of his life. But today was going to be the worst day of his life because he had to say goodbye to the person whom he loved the most. Anyway, with a heavy heart, he bid goodbye to Helen and stood there for a long time. Here, John's old friend came to meet him, whose name was Marcus. Once upon a time, John and Marcus used to work together. But then their life changed and their paths were separated. Here, John thought that maybe Marcus came to convince him to work with him again. But Marcus came to meet his friend who just lost his wife. They talked for a while and then Marcus left. That night, John got a parcel from his wife. Helen decided to give this gift to John before she died. When she opened the box, she found a small puppy inside. She found Helen's letter in the box, in which she wrote that after his death, he would have to move ahead in his life and he would have to give his place to someone else. That's why I have gifted you this puppy, so that you can learn to love again. Now, after reading this letter, John got very emotional and started crying. After this, when he took out the puppy, he noticed that Helen had named him Daisy. He came to his room with Daisy and made a small bed for her. He played with Daisy for a while and then went to sleep. The next morning, John realized that he didn't have any dog food. He quickly took out his Mustang and went to the market with Daisy. On the way, he stopped at a petrol pump and started filling oil in his car. Then another car came, which was playing loud music. A goon named Joseph came out of the car, who was the son of the biggest gangster in this country, Vigo. Joseph's friends went inside the shop, and here Joseph started talking to John. He praised John's Mustang and asked him for the price. John said that his car is not for sale and he doesn't want to sell it. Now in anger, Joseph came to John's window and started abusing him in Russian. But John Wick didn't play any dirty tricks. He also abused Joseph in Russian and left. That night when John was in his room, Daisy started shouting because he had to go to the bathroom. When John came down with Daisy, he saw two masked men who had entered his house. Before he could do anything, a third man attacked him. Now, all three of them beat John up and asked him for the car keys. But when John didn't tell them anything, they started breaking things in his house. Meanwhile, Daisy hid under a table, but unfortunately, a goon saw him, broke his neck, and killed him. After that, he came to John and removed the mask from his face. And now it was revealed that this man is none other than Joseph. He punched John and made him unconscious, took his car and left. After a few hours, when John woke up, Daisy was dead. After Daisy's death, John was completely broken because this puppy was his wife's last memory. After a little crying, John took care of himself and buried Daisy's dead body in his garden. There, Joseph took John's car and reached a man named Aurelio. Aurelio runs a garage where he repairs and modifies cars. Joseph told Aurelio he needed new papers and a new number plate for this car. But when Aurelio saw this car, he immediately understood that this car belonged to John Wick. He asked Joseph, who was scared, where he got this car. Here, Joseph told him the whole story of how he stole a man's car and killed his dog in front of his eyes. As soon as he heard this, Aurelio slapped Joseph and asked him to leave his garage. In anger, Joseph also scolded him a few times and left. Here, John cleaned his house and immediately reached Aurelio's garage. He asked Aurelio about Joseph, and Aurelio told him that Joseph had stolen his car and killed his dog. After hearing this, John bought a second-hand car from Aurelio and searched for Joseph. That night, Aurelio got a call from a mafia called Vigo, who was Joseph's father. Vigo was abusing Aurelio because he had slapped his son. But when Aurelio told him that Joseph had stolen John Wick's car and killed his dog, Vigo became very calm and hung up the phone. Now, when he heard the name John Wick, Vigo's anger turned into fear and he started to worry about Joseph. After some time, when Joseph returned home, Vigo called him to his home. He gave Joseph a glass of alcohol and then punched him in the stomach. Joseph was not able to understand why his father was washing him. He tried to ask him, but Vigo kept on beating him. After some beating, Vigo told Joseph that it was not your fault that you stole someone's car or killed someone's dog. It's your fault that you stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. Vigo said that John Wick used to work with him and the whole underworld knew him as Bogeyman. John Wick is so dangerous that he can guess from this fact that once he used a pencil. He was so dangerous that even the world's mafias were afraid to mess with him. The job that everyone thought was impossible was the job of John Wick's left hand. But one day he met Helen, and after that, he left all the wrong work. When Joseph finds out the truth about John Wick trying to kill you, you have 0 chances of survival. But I will try to save you because, unfortunately, you are my son. Now, as soon as Joseph leaves, Vigo calls John Wick and tries to solve the matter. But John cuts the phone without hearing anything. After this, he goes to his basement, breaks the floor, and takes out some guns and a lot of gold coins. Vigo didn't have any other option, so he decided to kill John Wick. That night, he sent 12 hitmen's team to John Wick's house so that they could kill him. But our hero was also ready for this. He killed all of them very easily and killed the last hitman with a knife and ended this murderous game. Then the bell rang at John's house because a policeman was standing outside. This officer's name was Jimmy, and he knew John from before. When Jimmy saw the corpses inside the house, he asked John if he had joined the underworld again. John replied that he was writing some old book. After the officer left, he called some people who were experts in cleaning crime scenes and recovering the bodies. They had already cleaned a lot for John Wick. They quickly cleaned the house, and John gave him some gold coins before leaving. Here Vigo met John Wick's old friend Marcus and gave him an offer that if he kills John, he will get $2 million in return. Marcus liked this offer and happily accepted John Wick's offer. After this, John stayed in a hotel to save himself from Vigo's goons. This hotel is very special because it is only used by underworld criminals. And there is a rule that no one will harm anyone in the hotel. And if anyone does so, he has to pay for it with his life. When John came inside the hotel, he met his old friend Perkins, who was already in the hotel. The owner of this hotel was Winston, and he was John's old friend. In the evening, John met Winston and asked him about Joseph. Here Winston told him that Joseph used to party in a nightclub called Red Circle every night. As soon as he got the information, John gathered a lot of weapons and quickly reached the nightclub. First of all, he killed 2 guards who were guarding Joseph. After that, he went down, and whoever tried to stop him, John killed them. Here, Joseph was spending his night with expensive liquor and beautiful girls when he reached there. As soon as he reached there, a fierce shooting started and John killed many of Joseph's guards. However, Joseph came out of the club and escaped from there in a car. Here, John stabbed his one man, but he was also stabbed with a knife. After that, he came back to his hotel where a doctor treated him. Then he went to his room and took some alcohol to relieve his pain. That night, Marcus went to the roof of the building opposite and aimed at John. Then he saw someone trying to sneak into John's room. And as soon as he saw that, he shot John to alert him. This man was none other than John's old friend Perkins. Perkins shot John several times, but John managed to escape from him. Here Perkins said that if I kill you inside this hotel, then Vigo will give me $4 million. Soon they started fighting, but John still got hurt and he shot Perkins in the head. Here, Perkins gives some information to John about Vigo to save his life. He told him that Vigo keeps all his money and important files in a church basement. Now, he made Perkins unconscious and asked his friend Harry to keep an eye on Perkins. After that, he came to the church where Vigo had hidden his treasure. As soon as he entered the church, he killed all the guards, threatened the fake father of the church, and took him to the safe. He took out the ladies in the safe and set fire to the entire treasure of Vigo. When Vigo got to know about this, he rushed to the church. But his John Wick was already there. He shot them all and killed all the guards of Vigo one by one. But unfortunately, a guard hit John and he fell to the ground and fainted. When John woke up, he found himself tied to a chair. Vigo had caught John, but he didn't kill him. He wanted to know why John was doing all this for a small dog. John says that it wasn't just a normal dog. It was the last sign of his wife, and Joseph took it away from him. He says to Vigo, "Now you have only two options. Either you tell me Joseph's address or you take the bullet with him." Here Vigo gave the order to his goons to kill John and left. Here, these two goons started beating John in a plastic bag. On the other side, Marcus was in the building in front of him and was watching everything from above. He fired the bullet and killed one of the guards. Here, John also showed his magic and killed the other guard. After this, he came out of the building with a gun and started shooting at Vigo's cars. He killed all the goons in the cars and asked Vigo for Joseph's address. Now, out of fear, he tells John that he has hidden Joseph in a safe house in Brooklyn. Here, Joseph is having fun with his friends, and outside the house, many armed guards are stationed to protect him. Now, John also reached this location and killed all the guards one by one. John blew up all their cars with a bomb so that Joseph could not escape. After that, he entered the house and found Joseph and shot him in the stomach. Joseph begged for mercy, but John did not listen to him and gave him a headshot to end his game. After killing Joseph, he went straight to Marcus and thanked him for his help. But here Perkins saw them together and he understood that Marcus had betrayed Vigo. They beat him up and killed him. Then they called John and gave him the news. After that, Vigo left for his helicopter so that he could leave the city. Here, the owner of the hotel, Winston, called Perkins to meet him. And here, four people killed him. Perkins was killed because he broke the hotel's rules. Here, when John found Marcus's dead body, he got angry and started to beat up Vigo. On the way, he saw Vigo's car and he hit his car hard. Here, Vigo sent his most dangerous goon, Avi, to beat up John. But John finished Avi's game as soon as he blinked. Here, Vigo tried to push John's car and make him fall. But John jumped out of the car at the last moment. After that, they started fighting and Vigo tried to stab him. But instead of getting away from this attack, John stabbed him in the stomach, broke Vigo's arm, and threw him on the ground. After that, John took out the knife from his stomach, stabbed Vigo in the neck, and killed him. And now the story came to where it started. John watches his wife's video and he gets a little courage by watching her. After that, he goes to a dog shop and repairs his wounds. After this, he picks up a dog from the shop and takes it to his home. And with this, the first part of this story ends.